What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. So, listen, want to talk about probiotics and gut bacteria and remedying major long-term gut issues that interfere with digestion in a major way, give you bloating, give you reflux, or on the other hand, and foster the faster movement of motility, and it's that's kind of arguably maybe the worser end of it, and what to do, right? Like whether probiotics are the answer. No, probiotics are a giant industry and have been around for such a long time, and there's a lot of studies and a lot of different strains of bacteria, most of which are native in your gut. There's different kinds of probiotics. There's spore forming probiotics. There's soil based probiotics, and there's kind of regular general probiotics, and they're normally like lactobacilli, bifidobacterium, originated. So, people with long-term gut problems that are related to bacterial dysbiosis, and most, in my opinion, of gut problems are related to that. Whether it's SIBO in the small intestine or a general dysbiosis in the large intestine, it's bacteria or Archaeobacter mediated. Probiotics, as we know them, and I'd be willing to say like pretty much everything that's out there, to include hardcore, very diverse probiotics like Prescript Assist in the old and new formulas, do not colonize the large bowel. They just don't colonize the large bowel. Essentially, they're transient, right? So they will be positively affecting you because they do for a lot of people for a variety of different gut issues while you're taking them. And essentially they just move out of your system. They don't colonize the large bowel, which is where you need them to colonize. They won't make themselves at home, latch on, it's like an unscientific way to put it, and then grow in numbers, right, to fight off bad bacteria or to rebalance like the general colonic flora. They just don't do that. So yes, they are useful in a transient sense. They are useful as a tool for so many different things. Like for somebody that has a bacterial overgrowth or an Archaeobacter overgrowth in the small intestine, otherwise known as SIBO, using enteric-coated antimicrobials in the presence of carbohydrates is a good strategy to tone down the numbers of said organisms so that you can mitigate symptoms for the time being acutely. And then there are cases in which taking antimicrobials, which will attempt to work down numbers temporarily of troublesome Archaeobacter or bacteria, will, it's like you have to be really careful with it. Too much of it will actually cause a similar problem. It'll just feel a little bit differently in terms of reflux or bloating or LPR. In which case you actually have to bring in carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are a critical element of fixing gut bacteria. You can't just avoid them. You got to kill things and then bring carbs in simultaneously. But at the same time, probiotics can act like carbohydrates because in the end, what you're really doing with carbs as it relates to gut bacteria is you're feeding gram-positive species. So probiotics kind of act in that regard. So they're useful as a tool. Ultimately, okay, the end all of fixing gut bacteria issues, in my opinion, is not probiotics, okay? I just have yet to see, both in scientific papers and in people that we work with on gut-related stuff, probiotics being able to fix it. In fact, the only thing that I have seen lasting change in colonic bacteria, seemingly, and in some cases in a measured way, and then in other cases anecdotal, and lasting resolution of symptoms. God, there's so many wasps out here. I'm in a cabin out in the woods. Is fecal transplants. Okay, that is what I've seen work. And in my professional opinion, again, I'm not a medical doctor, but in my opinion, fecal transplants are the end all. They are as close to a cure as we see and we can get at this stage in fixing gut problems, particularly because the bacteria from fecal transplants do colonize the large bowel, and they therefore can change in a positive way, in most cases, colonic flora. You want them to colonize. Fecal transplants have the ability to do that. I'm dumbfounded by why that is not more of an accepted or kind of readily available treatment for people that have gut issues. The logic defies me. The infrastructure of gastroenterology as it relates to the medical establishment and helping people, that does make sense, okay? Like, so once, particular drugs that are FDA approved and that are in the system, it takes a long time to get them out. Even when they're ineffective, and even when they cause side effects. We see that with SSRIs, we see that with Adderall, we see that with a lot of other pharmaceutical compounds, right? So that's probably the barrier of fecal transplants becoming mainstay in terms of treatment for people with gut issues, okay? If you have access to it, if you can get it, you somewhat are taking a chance, because the donor of the fecal transplant has to, they got to have great blood markers. Like, there's studies on rats or mice where you give a person the essentially a fecal transplant you give them a fecal transplant from a diabetic mouse, and in this mouse that does not have diabetes, now with the new fecal transplant has diabetes. And the same has been demonstrated on the other end of it. Like, that you could abolish it by giving kind of a non-diabetic mouse's fecal bacteria and material into a diabetic mouse's colon, basically, right? So yeah, dude, so you have to be careful about the donor, and that's maybe where some risk lies, because there might be some underlying stuff that physicians or doctors or gastroenterologists are not able to see when they do a fecal transplant, that might end up having the person that is getting the fecal transplant left over with some sort of dysregulation of something, right? And related to bacteria. Major point, end all, at this point, I'm convinced the most effective treatment, in gut bacteria related issues is a fecal transplant. They colonize the colon, and that is what you need. That's ultimately what you need. Hope that makes sense. Thanks so much for watching. Man, I hope that becomes more mainstream soon. God, I'm so interested in that, and that is just super awesome. Hope I've been helpful and useful. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember, everything at livecortex.com, 20% off. Use the coupon code 220, livecortex.com. That is the Cortex stack. God, we blew out of inventory just about a month ago. We're selling a lot because folks are stocking up. Use the coupon code while you can. Coupon code 20 takes 20% off the Cortex Nootropic Stack. Powerful mental energy, motivation, verbal fluency stack. Get you to work stack. Made for entrepreneurs, but useful for other people. LiveCortex.com. Nootropics Masterclass, also 20% off. Video course teaching you to take wherever you are, 2, 3 years, 1 year experience with nootropics, to the 6-year mark. People that are at the 6-year mark get better results, know how to stack differently, formulate stacks differently, adjust stacks differently, know how to induce certain mental states on cue. We'll teach you how to do that in the video course, Nootropics Masterclass. Get that at LiveCortex.com. Use the coupon code 220 to save 20% off of that. If you're brand new to nootropics, you just have to stop everything and go buy Nootropics Ground Zero. It is a video course intended to take you from Ground Zero, which is brand new, to the 3-year mark. So many distinctions, so many questions answered on stack formulation, stack adjusting, what to stack with what, synergistic additional components, cofactors, strategy. Nootropics Ground Zero, also 20% off LiveCortex.com. Last thing, for those of you that have complex issues like either PSSD or dopaminergic dysregulation from consistent Adderall use, we have consulting services for that. We can get a lot done in the 1-month intensive consult. We can target it toward that if folks need. Usually more beneficial to go with 3.5 months of a nootropics consult or general brain performance modifying consult or repairing issues, and then 6 months is obviously as much time as you can get, and that will ultimately be more helpful. Aside from that, if you don't have any of those issues, you can purchase those consults just for cognitive performance enhancement as it relates to nootropics and research chemicals. Get all that stuff at livecortex.com, especially business people that need help with brain performance right now, where you need to be more productive and reach your markets differently with more creative stuff and more useful things. You need more productivity. Get all the stuff at livecortex.com. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. More videos to come from the cabin. And we'll talk to you next time.